All right, and well, introducing the panel that we have here this morning to have this dawn debate, we have Dunstan Buzeki. Good morning and thank you for joining us. We also have Evans Wafula. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Let's start off, first of all, before we get into the crux of the matter, with that particular headline on the Standard and the new sensation in Nairobi, and maybe your thoughts, Wafula, on Sonko and the fact that he seems to be reinventing himself and positioning himself to take over the leadership of Nairobi County.
I think Sonko has been undergoing some sort of self-revolution. I think he exonerates so well with the youth. We've seen Sonko from the time he went into parliament as a member of parliament, now a senator, and now trying to trying maybe to be the governor. I think he's really been moving. He's really caused a star among the youth, and I think if you walk around Nairobi, you'll realize that many youth actually identify themselves with Sonko. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, despite somebody, we were having a conversation the other day, and well, their comments were, do we have something wrong in terms of in Nairobi when we have people who are, taking over leadership, yet they have very questionable ways of doing things. I mean, looking at Sonko and how he came to be, in terms of how the Standard there has described him as from one who was almost a ruffian to now being very executive.
Not actually a ruffian, but someone with even a criminal record. But this is about our institutions. You know, you cannot entirely blame it on an individual. Our institutions have really failed. And I think when we've always talked about Chapter 6 being enforced, you will realize that a lot of people are getting away with what we would otherwise even call murder. Because Sonko himself, you see, the kind of things he's been associated with, they're not things that actually would actually pass Chapter 6. You know, the other day, even to be cleared by the CID was also a problem. So I think it's not really very much about himself as a person, but it's also about how our institutions are not able to hold person accountable.
Riziki, does that worry you, the fact that when we look at our leaders, there are question marks? We cannot, there are very few leaders, if at all there are any, that you can point out and say, like Caesar's wife, they're without reproach.
Governor's position is an elective position, and election has its own dynamics. The dynamics in the sense that they must understand and be able to work with the people. That is the first aspect. And being an elective position, you need to seek the people's mandate so that you can win a position. That is one aspect. On the aspect of relating and also political mobilization of the voters, I think Sonko being in a Jubilee party gets an upper hand in terms of political mobilization, because in sub-Saharan Africa, mobilization in terms of politics comes in two forms. One is the party aspect and ethnic mobilization. And one that Sonko is in a party that is associated with a particular political hegemony, then he is he has a better off advantage. Secondly, he understands the dynamics of the city politics, in the sense that he understands the hoi polloi and the other masses in terms of the proletariat at the grassroots level, and has also brought in the likes of Polycarp Igathe to be able to cut off an image of an asset manager, that matter. Secondly, with the issues of institutions in this country, we must appreciate that institutions in this country are meant to work independent of each other. Thus, you cannot accuse, and most of the issues that probably my colleague has alluded to in terms of cases, in terms of all his accusations that he has had before, one thing you must appreciate that most of these cases he has been cleared off by the Director of Criminal Investigation, Ethics and Anti-Corruption. So we cannot really point out that truly that he has this and these matters pending in court. Currently, for
because
the record,
until proved guilty.
You're innocent until proven guilty. But and up to this moment in time, I think he has no criminal record. It might be an illusion in our mind that this is the kind of a person that we have. But in record, it is totally different.
But as much as that is the case, I mean, we look at our leaders. Let's even move away from Sonko. Go to Kirinyaga.
Yes.
And we have the nominated person for governorship is somebody like Waiguru. And like I said, we are not saying that they are guilty until they're proved guilty, but are there leaders that we can actually say, like Caesar's wife, there is no question they are without reproach?
Actually,
isn't that worrying that we don't have that?
Actually, you see, actually, the most difficult thing in this country right now is the monetization of our politics and the commercialization. You've come as a country to be a country where politics is like an enterprise, where you come in, people are not chosen or elected on the virtues of their of their capacity to lead, or by virtue of their integrity as such, but by virtue of how they'll be able to mobilize their people. Secondly, on the issue of money, money has become a key factor in our politics, in the sense that the issues of ideals, the issues of a manifesto, the issues of ideologies do not really hold much water. Then second, another aspect that we must really appreciate is that our parties have become kind of a haven for the rich, in that if you are one person who has no monetary capital or monetary strength, then you will not be able. But coming cognizant to the factor of this of the nomination process that we have had in the recent past, we must appreciate that parties have also tried to put in place internal mechanisms to see that we have free and fair nomination process. So if democracy is a very expensive enterprise, in the sense that whosoever gets the majority votes at that level then has the mandate to rule, to govern. That is one aspect. The second aspect is about, if we allow the party institutions to work at the party level, then we will be at liberty, or will be at strength to have leaders with integrity. If at the party level, all the party players, and let us not just look at the Jubilee side of the government, but probably all the political players in the political sphere, all the parties are to blame. And actually, whatever we are having in terms of leadership at the national level or at the elective level is a reflection of what the society wants. It's a reflection, actually. Whatever is the kind of leaders we have right now are our reflection as a people. So we should take a retrospective look and do a sort of soul searching on what are the attributes of a true leader in this country. If a leader can be defined by virtue of what he owns, or can be defined by virtue of what he can capitalize or mobilize on, then we have a long way to go. Yes.
All right, Evans, do you agree that in terms of percentage, parties are mainly for the rich? Although, maybe as we look at that, we also have, I think there was a gentleman in Western who managed to get a nomination despite the fact that he did his campaign on a bicycle. We have, I think, one in Central who basically, we have one even, I think, in Nairobi who was a fruit vendor, a vegetable vendor, but still managed to get. But are we improving in terms of having the people have their say, despite the fact that you may not have the money in your pocket to, pay your way through?
But what we've seen is that parties are evolving from projects to clubs. And most parties are run by a group of people, group of friends. And if you look at the way the nominations were carried along the political divide, even in Jubilee, you'd see allegations like preferred candidates. You could hear even some saying that it's too expensive to contest for a particular seat. But just echoing what he has said is that I think the issue of integrity among leaders is not only that some of them, of course, we know they have been cleared by courts, but the manner in which they have been cleared remains suspicious. Because some of them even, and here in Kenya, is that with money you can buy even justice. We know they even been, like for example, even when the PSC was releasing its report, I saw parliamentarians coming out and say that, as much as Waiguru has been elected by the people to contest for the governorship, they kept on emphasizing that her record is not good. I mean, that do not elect somebody who has these credentials. So I think it's both a societal problem in terms of we the people, but also in terms of our institutions. Like Parliament has pronounced itself very clearly on the issue of NYS, for example. But here the people of Kirinyaga exercised or demonstrated the democratic right to elect their leader. But yes, again, they're saying, there's also, it's actually a conflicted environment where people elect a leader. Parliament says this leader cannot hold public office, must be investigated. The CIDs are already saying, okay, the EFCC and the CID all have said they cleared her. So it's really confusing. And that is it's a very dangerous precedent that we are going to see the kind of leaders we are going to have, even we are going to elect, might even end up being leaders who have all suspicious credentials.
Characters.
Yeah.
All right, and the other thing, of course, that we have on the headlines as well that we could look at is the fact that we have a huge number, 16,000 people who are literally going for elective seats. Is that a good thing, do you think, Riziki, in terms of democratic space opening up and the fact that we have very many people who are willing to throw in their hat and say, look, I can lead, I can be somebody who can make a difference in this country?
One thing that we must appreciate that democracy is one of the most expensive enterprises in the whole world. Then the expensive nature of our democracy also gives room for the growth of it, in the sense that people are able to come out clearly and seek positions of leadership, regardless of their backgrounds, regardless of their race, religion, and all other factors put constant. But the large number of candidates who are seeking position is by virtue of undemocratic culture within our parties. If you look at the large number of independent candidates came as a result of either major fallout within the nomination after the nomination exercise, and or maybe preferably the fear of being rigged out during the nomination exercise. That's why most of these candidates went out to seek the position of independent candidates. But more importantly, if you look at the independent candidate and the large number, shall also bode doom to the manner in which the election shall be carried out. In the sense that you can imagine a presidential candidate's ballot having 18 candidates. And having 18 candidates, you believe in this moment and era where the rates of the literacy rates are very low, a villager in the village cannot be able to go through all the number of 18 candidates, go through the MCA ballot paper, go through maybe same number of MP people seeking the member of parliament position. The large number of independent candidates, apart from showing the growth in terms of democracy, in terms of leadership, in terms of a political expression and expansion of a political space, also bodes doom actually to the manner in which the exercise shall be carried out. If you look at even the manner of counting, if you're counting elections we are faced with a situation whereby the counting might take a bit longer than before. Secondly, it might even be more expensive to carry out, to come up with the I don't think if the commission had foreseen this, but it might be expensive to come out with the ballot printing papers for the candidates. But more importantly, again, is that as we speak, the coalition, the COD or NASA team had moved to court to block the issuance of the ballot printing tender, and I'm still in a catch-22 situation to actually know at what point shall the courts issue an order for or against in this matter. So we are at a difficult point in time, in that actually the election is in a state of I can't say it's certain per se.
Okay.
But because of these many other factors put in place, and bearing in mind that we're only 3 months to the election, or less than 2 months to the election, and the ballot paper printing tender has not been awarded per se.
Yeah,
so we as a country probably, and the political players in this country should also be very sincere to ourselves, so that when we are moving to court to block or to seek injunction or seek court orders against particular issues, then the national interest should come first, rather than not just about party interest for that matter. So as we move forward, the democratic space has expanded and increased, but we shall bear the cost. We shall bear the cost, and also the election timelines. We are doing badly, and even after the election, the process of voting in that time shall be extremely, it's like a calendar actually, it shall be extremely difficult, verification shall be difficult, the counting shall be extremely difficult for that matter, because of the fallout within the parties, creating a large number of independent candidates.
All right, and Evans, it is true that we have a huge number of aspirants this time, and of course that might also have been increased by virtue of the fact that those who feel they are aggrieved in their parties are now going independent, and we're also seeing an increase in that particular number. And like Riziki mentioned, democracy is expensive? Are we just paying the price of that expansion? And are we likely to see democracy play out more as we go along? And the reason I ask this is because if at the party level, democracy has not played out such that we don't have the right candidates nominated by the people. On a national level, really, are we going to have democracy play out? Because whoever is there is possibly not who was elected in some of the cases.
I think there's nothing strange with what we are witnessing. I think what happened is that, the party hopping, which we were very much used to, that you lose an election in your party, you jump into another ship. And I think when the courts really became firm on this issue of party hopping, it left a window for the independent. Actually, it goes down to our own election management program and systems. I think what needs to happen is that I'm not foreseeing a situation whereby even this, like you see, for example, Chap Chap is being ranked as the third.
With the most number of registered
aspirants. And we know most of these people were not put on test. They were not actually, they did not go through an electoral process. They were actually issued with certificates, quite a number of them. So that kind of a situation really demeans our democracy. Because people are not given the opportunity to nominate their leaders. But a political party emerges and decides that, and we saw that even the time of Tip previously, that you could just work with certificates and give losers. And that's what we are actually seeing as a trend, really watering down our democratic values. But I wouldn't say, at a national level, what I'm seeing is that now political parties after these primaries, I think they're now, and we've seen the way they have handled petitions, and almost from Jubilee to NASA, how they have been dealing with their petitions. Some of them even are almost clearing this week, where people have gone to petition against the results. So I think there's some level of democracy when we see even the tribunals, the internal mechanisms, trying to be able to also bring some sanity in the process. But I think we really need to learn. This is just a beginning, because I know the independents are emerging. It's something very new in our politics. And we hope that maybe as we move forward towards the next elections, I think we will see whether, in fact, people have been saying that the independent will there emerge also as an independent party. Because it's not going to be very good to our democracy where you lose, you have to at least get your name in the ballot. And I saw the way the Governor Kabogo came out after some time and just said, my name will be in the ballot. Whatever happens, I will be in the ballot. It's really scary to our democracy.
Yeah. Okay, on that, I just, my wish or a wish in our political space will be that we need to have strong parties. The emergence of Jubilee as one of the parties that came and as an amalgamation of parties was a good step in terms of our democratic growth. So I would also have wished that probably, just like other democracies that have really grown, NASA should have also formed one party in that sense. Jubilee formed one party. Then this party, because the political parties fund has been created in this constitution, then these parties are strengthened by that, from that level, from that grassroots level. So that we just have like South Africa, we have ANC, we have some strong parties within our political space. That will be a very key issue to enable us to grow as a country. But more importantly, when next election or in the next parliament, you can assume in a parliament that has a lot of independent candidates, it is a very difficult parliament to control, for that matter. Even it would be difficult for the government of the day, that time, to move particular issues within that parliament, because the manner of political mobilization at the National Assembly level or the Senate level shall be difficult, because assuming you want numbers, it will not be so easy to be able to gerrymander or to be able to pull your political strength together for a particular purpose at that level. So the emergence of independent candidates is also good, as it may seem in terms of democracy, but it is also dangerous to the sense of whichever government shall come into power to be able to pursue to move their interests at the National Assembly level or the Senate level. But bearing in mind that now we have a presidential system, all members of parliament are supposed to offer checks and balances to the executive. So with this kind of thing, it also gives, when you have many members of parliament as independent, then probably the more checks are more serious in terms of checks and balances that they shall offer, rather than when you have members of parliament in a particular party, then who are easily whipped into following a particular political dimension or direction. Then that also, those are the kind of the advantages that these independent candidates bring into the political table. So I think it is a plus in most aspects.
All right. And I want us to wind up. And one of the things that I wanted us to close with, Wafula, just to get your thoughts and pick your mind on this, is the IEBC verification exercise. Now, the IEBC has constantly been under attack from all and sundry. And here we have it again. Now, the NASA flag bearer, Raila Odinga, coming out to say that they are to blame for slow verification exercise. Your thoughts on the fact that IEBC, first of all, has been hammered? And secondly, have they come out strongly enough to, stand in their position and say, we are the IEBC, we are the ref, and regardless of what politicians have to say, because politicians will speak anyway, we are here to ensure that we have a free and fair election?
I think the IEBC is headed to very turbulent times. I think Article 10 of our Constitution is very clear, and I think they need to enforce that Article 10 when they are really preparing for this election. I think IEBC needs to concentrate on only one thing: to deliver a credible and a fair election. Nothing short of that. And when you see IEBC engaging in every rhetoric, whether the opposition, I think they're replying to everything. And actually, that is also very dangerous for them to be seen whether they are a fair, better in this election. Because at the end of the day is that I think the reason why people had to demand that they need some level of reforms in the IEBC was because they wanted to go into a fair election, into a free and fair election. But looking at the way IEBC, and it's really being faced with a lot of challenges. My colleague here has talked about the court cases. They have talked about the timelines. And I think IEBC is struggling to meet the timelines. But on the way to meet those timelines, I think they just need to be very careful that people want nothing short of free and fair election.
Free and fair. Dunstan, in just a second, do you think they have stood out with authority to let everybody know that they are fair ref and that they have the authority and the mandate?
Actually, I think they have, in the manner that they have really engaged all stakeholders at most critical time in terms of decision making. Unlike before that, most of political parties, and specifically the parties as key stakeholders, unlike in the past, they have engaged them at each and every decision they are making. That kind of engagement, or that roundtable kind of meeting where you have a press briefing on about various issues, clarifications about various issues, it might seem bad. I beg to differ with my colleague. It might seem bad on the face of it, but it gives hope and room and creates some level of sanity among its players, so that even if you disagree, you can disagree in principle, but generally, you understand that these are the issues that are really that are going on. Then on the issue of voter mobilization, I think voter verification process, voter verification process, it is an exercise for all political players. So we should not blame basically the IBC or CORD or Jubilee and all that. We should not throw a lot of mud to each other. But I think it's more important if we appreciate that voter verification process is a political exercise. A political exercise in the sense that all political players have a role to play in that exercise, and all have to mobilize their supporters to come out in large numbers to see that they are verify where they are genuine, the voter register. So it should not, whatever the opposition leader is doing, I think is part of playing politics to the minds of the populace. But it is important that all political players in the political sphere take a responsibility to mobilize their supporters, to mobilize the political base, and I think probably Jubilee should also do the same. Come out in good voice and say, okay, our players, come and verify whether you
verify.
Yes.
All right, gentlemen, because of time, we'll have to wind up right there. Thank you very much, Evans Wafula and Dunstan Riziki, for joining us for the Dawn Debate. And that's where we're going to wind up the Dawn Debate. But do stay with us right here on Morning Express, because we've got something coming up. And you see, what happens at night while you are asleep? There's a lot that goes on, and our reporters have been on. And that's coming up shortly. But for now, we wind up the Dawn debate.